So Donald Trump yesterday came out with his much awaited, I guess, statement on abortion.
Right.
And basically had changed his position. What was it, like a month ago?
I don't know if he had announced this, but there was reporting that he had been floating a 16-week ban to work with some of the conservatives that he needs, to galvanize to win in the fall.
Apparently, this heartfelt, position he had waned as soon as he found out that trial balloon wasn't going to be good, because he is a member of the Republican Party, and the constituency that will elect you to office in the Republican Party wants to ban abortions, or at least the most active members of that constituency. Let's just go back. Let's take a walk down memory lane. Here is Laura Ingraham. This is in December of 2022, talking about the benefit of overturning Roe v. Wade. This and she's looking back on that Dobbs decision. And this is, in the wake of the 22 elections, which didn't work well
Wasn't
for
a red
Republicans.
wave like predicted?
Was not a red wave, but she is steadfast because she knows who her audience is. And here she is.
And marching by those in the pro-life community, also with the selection of all these terrific justices, it made the reversal of Roe possible. And regardless of the political benefit, which is impossible really to quantify, it was a win nearly 50 years in the making.
Now, just a couple of points. One, she talks about 50 years in the making because this is the first time ever the Supreme Court has reversed and taken away an individual right that had been established in our society for 50 years. And impossible to measure the political benefit. Here she is in a little bit less than a year later, in August of 2023.
Overturning Roe versus Wade is the greatest accomplishment the conservative movement has had since the end of the Cold War. We should be proud of it and build on it, not run away from it.
That's right. You do not run away from something like that because we should be proud of it and build on it. And, of course, here she is yesterday attempting to assuage conservatives and Republicans over Donald Trump's less than full-throated commitment to banning abortion nationwide. He only came out for bans in states.
Well, Byron, Republicans fought for 50 years to get Roe overturned, and courtesy of Trump, they finally succeeded. But didn't he do the only thing really he could do at this point without committing political suicide and ensuring that more pro-abortion activists get nominated to the federal courts? Oh.
All right.
Ooh, whoops.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically, and Rush Limbaugh did this quite a bit when he was alive and lying. And that was basically say, they are doing this just for political reasons, and you got to allow them because you know what their agenda is. And this is the first sort of like I think one of the most honest things she's ever said. The American public does not want abortion bans anywhere in this country, and she knows that's an untenable position. But she also knows that when Donald Trump gets into office, he will deliver on the rest of the order from the right-wing Republicans.
That's what Mike Pence was so excited about, to serve under Donald Trump, right? He figured that he could be the perfect vessel to lie for the Lord, because that's what the entire effort to claw back abortion rights has centered around: lying until you have the opportunity to strike, lying and saying that, we're going to leave it to the states, and then Lindsey Graham, who we'll talk about in a second, within, I don't know, a few months or weeks after Dobbs, came out with his own concept of a 15, 16-week federal abortion ban. They lie to get elected, and then they act to reward the evangelical base that got them there. And that's what the Donald Trump presidency would be. He would have immense pressure, even though I don't know if he could get past the filibuster, but he could do some things on the executive action front that could severely curtail say, like, the ability of abortion clinics to operate, right? I mean, the brakes are off now that Dobbs has been implemented.
And the idea that the Republicans wouldn't get rid of the filibuster, I mean, frankly, I want the Democrats to get rid of the filibuster.
Right.
And, but you invariably have Democrats who sell themselves as being, not even mavericks, like literally running against the Democratic Party, like Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. And we'll have new ones. Maybe it'll be Fetterman. Who knows? The next person, the next Democrat who will come out and say, well, we can't, I'm too much of an institutionalist. That does not happen in the Republican Party.
And if they were to get rid of the filibuster on abortion, and then there's those narrow margins, some of those frontline Republicans in blue or purple states are going to be put in a different position than they would be politically if there were that filibuster protection for them. Well,
the problem is there's not that many of those Republicans in those blue or purple states anymore. And so the idea that a Republican would vote against getting rid of the filibuster to impose an abortion ban, show me that Republican who would not know that that vote will destroy their chances in their upcoming primary. The Republican base wants an abortion ban federally. Period. End of story. That base may only be 30% of the American public, but they control that party. And there is no way any Republican anywhere, I don't know what state it would be or who it would be, that would stand in the way of that vote. And so there will be no filibuster, at least for that question, if the Republicans control the House and the Senate and the presidency. And Donald Trump has absolutely no incentive whatsoever to veto an abortion ban. And if he wanted to say that, he would have said it in his he would have said it yesterday. It's one thing to say I prefer it to be a state's issue before you get elected. It's another to say I'm going to veto it. In the meantime, here is the Biden campaign releasing their ad. This ad came out yesterday. You may have heard this story. I think we may have talked about this. And this is one of the implications of abortion bans where there is supposedly an exception. But remember, there is no light that goes off on the top of a person's head when their life is in jeopardy unless they get an abortion. That doesn't happen. Every time that decision is made, it is a doctor's subjective opinion as to whether this constitutes a life-threatening situation.
Or rape and incest exemptions, for example, that would have to be borne out in the courts, which makes them essentially null and void, because
right.
You'd have to prove a rape or you'd have to prove incest.
Standpoint.
From a practical standpoint, then the abortion can't go forward.
The point with a doctor having to make a subjective decision is that if their subjective decision after the fact is determined to be wrong, then they could go to jail. And so what doctors do is they say, I'm going to err on the side of me not going to jail,
right.
Me not losing my license, and wait until there is some indisputable indication that your life is in jeopardy or your ability to get pregnant again. That's not even an exception. That's this story here.
So this is one of our willow boxes. This is just filled with some of the things that we had started gathering for her while I was pregnant.
Yep.
Here's her little baby book. This is the outfit that she was gonna maybe wear home from the hospital. All of these. This is...
Pause it. I should say that there's graphics that are coming up if you're just listening to this that say that in 2022, Donald Trump killed Roe v. Wade. And this is a function of that.
The blanket that she was in.
3 days later, Amanda was in the ICU with sepsis. She almost died twice. Doctors wouldn't give her an abortion.
Her little footprints.
The infection caused so much damage, Amanda may never get pregnant again.
It's okay.
Trump did this.
I'm Joe Biden.
It's a
This message. There you go.
pretty brutal ad. It's geared towards, I guess, Republicans who would who are in favor of some form of abortion rights. I'll be Laura Ingraham here and say I wish that it was the Biden administration pointed out that it's actually been a dream of Republicans for a long time, and it's Mitch McConnell who specifically held open that seat that Merrick Garland, and by not even giving Merrick Garland a hearing, as a way of driving anti-abortion voters to the polls effectively.
Or was it mega MAGA trickle down or MAGA extremists or whatever they've poll tested for 3 years instead of just saying the word Republican?
Yes. And, but I'll do my best, Laura Ingraham, say like, well, this is geared towards beating Donald Trump, and that's going to be at least the short-term implications of that will be the same. But let's be clear. This has been one of the primary drivers of Republican politics for 45 years.
Yeah. Really, since Jim Crow, since after Jim Crow, this is what they turned to appeal to
this
their
was the
conservative
next,
base.
yes.
Yeah.
This was, and this is what has driven voters out to the polls for a long time. The problem that they have is that they've caught the car, and people now believe that Republicans are actually doing this, not just sort of like dangling in front of their voters. And
Well, because they did it.
Exactly.
I mean, and you have Trump coming out and saying that Democrats want to execute the baby after it comes out of the womb. I mean, this sounds completely nonsensical. We know that the 90% of abortions are in the first trimester. Nearly 99% are performed in the first 20 weeks. The doctor's subjectivity that you speak about is necessary because that's when we're talking about that 1% there, which is life of the mother when those later term abortions happen. That's why these bans have such a chilling effect, because it literally affects women like that, from their ability and people who can get pregnant, their ability to have pregnancies in the future, and also their lives are in danger if you handcuff doctors and threaten them with losing their license or going to jail from operating in the best interest of their patient.
I will cop to contemplating, executing my child, but really more closer to like when she was like in 14 or 15 years after birth.
That's a really late term abortion.
That was there's been times.
I wish you didn't say that on there. It's going to get clipped for future Republican ads.
That, of course, is a joke.
Well, I mean, typical Brooklyn liberal.
Yeah.
Can't make jokes anymore.
Nope. No, we're completely cancel culture. But aside from that, I wouldn't. When they're younger, they're much cuter.
Yeah. It's much harder to do the abortion.
But now, of course, no, that's not the case. And I'm just saying that one specific age, just in case she's listening.